Ben, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. And why don't you just do a brief intro of yourself and how you found Carnivore? And actually, I also want to know where you're at in the world.
Yeah, man, for sure. Thanks for having me. Pumped to be here. I'm up in Canada, near Toronto, which is maybe the landmark most people know, but yeah, an hour and a half out of the big city there. And yeah, I stumbled into this stuff. It's weird now because every time I talk about it, it's longer, but it's I think it's almost 5 years. When I first found keto, which is how I came into this, and keto for maybe year, 2 years, and then carnivore after that. But yeah, it was actually my friend's mom was talking about keto, and this is way back. It wasn't that big back then. But yeah, I was actually looking for not weight loss. It was more mental health stuff. I just had no energy, and I just felt I was in a rut all the time. And so I was interested in that. And then I heard about, people talking about energy and feeling better. And I kind of started reading some anecdotes, but it was definitely harder to find stuff at that point. And so, yeah, started out with keto, saw some success with that. And then I forget what podcast it was. I heard someone's talking about just meat for 1 month. And I was that's insane. And then started looking around at more and more of the interviews. I think that's when I found Sean Baker. And then, yeah, I did a trial run of it, felt even better. And then, so that led to being pretty much carnivore for yeah, I guess three-ish years. I've had my seasons of trying other things and kind of being more or less strict, experimenting with that. But it's always my baseline to come back to. So that's kind of in a nutshell.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Yeah, because it seems so extreme at first. I know my first introduction to it, I thought these people were crazy, but I was hurting so bad. It's doctors aren't giving me an answer, let me jump into this. So when you first jumped from keto to carnivore, was it what kind of foods were you eating during that time?
Yeah, dude, it's so funny because it's been a while, but I'm also kind of I love experiments, but I remember it was probably only 5 days or a month, because I thought about it when I had that hang up about oh, what about everything else? And then I was pretty much whatever. and then yeah, 3 weeks in, I was just being that annoying person telling everyone, yeah, vegetables are a scam basically. But anyways, yeah, I was with keto, when I started, I didn't even know what a macronutrient was. I was active and stuff, but I wasn't a gym bro or anything. So even protein, I was yeah, eat whatever, try to eat meat, I guess. But yeah, I was eating for keto, I was still into a lot of recipes that were keto things. So whether that was desserts or even cauliflower, rice instead of potatoes, a lot of replacement stuff. And then I'm trying to remember when I first jumped into it, it was kind of at first you feel there's nothing to eat basically. But I remember feeling that I still like meat, but there was nothing to eat. But then I mean, pretty quickly you just you start to realize that there's a lot of different options. So yeah, when I first started, I kind of don't even remember now. I guess I was buying I was just shopping the sales, looking for meat that was on sale, kind of trying to listen to people. And yeah, beef seemed to be the go-to basically. And then yeah, all kinds of experiments since then.
And what did you notice? So you were, I guess, started looking at keto for mental health reasons. And then you saw some benefit, and then switching to carnivore, did that just improve from there?
Yeah. So
what was the mental health was it anxiety or depression or?
Yeah, for sure. So it was definitely I guess a mix of those things. And for some more context, I guess I guess for anyone who starts to think they might have some issues, and then they're trying to you can't really compare it to anything, because for me it was it was a long time. It was, I guess, I'm 30 now, and probably 18 to 23 was just just not a great time during college. Just, yeah, low energy, depressed a lot of the time, super anxious. I had like OCD tendencies as well, like never formally diagnosed, but like I kind of knew I had that. And so I was actually, my doctor had just recommended like trying antidepressants. I would have been like 23 maybe. And I'd done some stuff like more on like the, just like, I guess like therapy, like trying to like figure out what's going on. But it's such a deep world when you start getting into this mental health, stuff and the conventional treatments and everything. And anyways, I was really, I didn't want to, like, I was like, gosh, like, is there something else I'm not doing that I should do before I try medication? And that actually led me to really looking into diet and then to being more open to people talking about that. But to get back to your question, keto first. Some people like struggle to get into it. I think it was like 5 days in, I just woke up and I felt like lighter is the best way I can describe it. Like everything felt lighter though, like my brain and my body. Like I was like, this is like way different than like when you like talk to someone and they reassure you and you feel better. I was like, this is like my body actually feels better. It was so weird, man. I still remember it. And that was like, I went for a walk that morning and I was like, yeah, I feel like just like everything feels a bit better. And so that was when I was like, okay, I'm going to continue with this. And then carnivore was, I was like, okay, like, can I do like more of this? Like, is this like the way to like, accelerate this? And yeah, like that's what I started to find. It was like, I remember one thing was like starting to be able to wake up in the mornings. Like I'd wake up and I'd be like actually awake. And I was like, this is like never happened to me before. And then it was just like a little more calm, like I'd be more calm. I had panic attacks for a while too. And then I remember one time also just feeling that like, there was like, it would come up almost like the anxiety. And then it was like, but it couldn't go anywhere. It was like, there was nowhere. It sounds weird, but it's like, it was like the opposite of when you're, totally inflamed or I don't know, like hungover and like, you feel like you're super edgy. It was just like the total other end of the spectrum. And I kind of felt like, oh, this is weird. It's almost like I can be a little bit anxious, but like it can't really get a hold of me. So that's kind of what I started to notice as I got more, I guess, probably fat adapted.
Right. And what do you attribute that to? Is it the removal of other foods? Is it the meat actually healing you? Is it ketosis?
Yeah. I've gone back and forth on this a lot, to be honest. One thing that I do think, because every time I kind of get a little bit away from it, I'll come back and I'll feel better, is like, I think ketosis is like a super powerful lever. And it sounds weird. I've only heard a few other people say this, but like every time I get like deep into ketosis, like I just like, it's like I can feel when it happens almost. And I feel like happy. It's weird. So I think ketosis plays a big role, but definitely eliminating things as well, it like is a part of it. For me, it's definitely like the poison is in the dose. Like I got really hung up for a little bit on like super small things, like thinking maybe they were throwing me off. But for me, like it is like the dosage, like whether that be like gluten or like something like that, like a little bit's not going to like wreck me, but like something like if it's a meal, or if it's a couple things, like it's going to start affecting me. So it's a mix.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I saw like I was digging through your stuff on Instagram, that picture of you eating liver.
Yeah, I just saw that on Instagram.
Raw liver. Is that something you still do? Do you still like eat organ meats, or is your diet mostly like steak and eggs and things?
Yeah. So for a little bit, like I was super into it. And yeah, like I said, I go into phases. So it's funny you say that, because literally recently I've been meaning to go like get some and like do it again, because it's been a while. It's probably been a few months. So I kind of cycle through it. It's like if I feel like I need something, or I want it, then I'll go do that. And I really do it like I wouldn't say I love liver, but like I freeze it usually actually and do little pieces like that. And it's kind of just like, think of it as like a vitamin, I guess. But that's a pretty cool tool as well. Like sometimes I feel like I can really feel it. So yeah, it's not all the time, but I'll throw it in here and there.
Do you do any other organ meats?
Not typically. I definitely, I've experimented. Like, what did I do? To be honest, actually, like, there are some I like, and if I could just get them more easily, like I would, like heart, I like lamb heart is good. I did like lamb heart jerky one time, like that's good. It's like, yeah, I'll go in phases of experimentation. Like kidney, that's kind of rough. Like if I don't like that, that's a tough one. I tried that. Actually, this sounds weird too, but it's really good. Like lamb brain. There was this farm I could get some from, and it's like pate. So like that, there's stuff that's like, it's more just like out of the way, but it's like, oh, if I had the chance to do it, it's like, yeah, I'd eat that. But typically, no, it's more just like regular stuff.
Right. When you were eating the lamb brain, this is something, so like I used to buy these, and sometimes I still do, but like ancestral supplements will have like beef organs. So I did beef brain, and every time I have just 1 or 2 capsules of that, my dreams are just insane.
Dude, that's super interesting. So I don't recall that specifically with the brain, but on a different note, when I started getting this like skincare stuff, like I was looking at magnesium, and I'd supplemented with magnesium a few times, like with a supplement you eat. But this was like in a cream, and I was rubbing on my feet, and dude, that gave me the dream. So I don't know if there's magnesium in a cow brain or whatever, but like, yeah, that was something else that got me like vivid dreams. But anyways, yeah.
Okay, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, and I researched, other people said that too about magnesium, but yeah, I don't know if that's interesting.
Yeah, because like the whole theory behind that is like, you take, liver, and it's gonna like restore your liver,
right?
And it's, to me, I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't really on board because I'm like, it just sounds too like crazy.
Yeah.
And now I'm more of a believer in it. Like I know a lot of thyroid medications are actually made with thyroid.
Yeah.
Something I'm messing around with now is I don't eat it, but I take it in pill form, is testicle, bovine testicle.
So I've actually kind of wanted to try it, but yeah, I haven't.
And I notice a difference in sex drive and morning wood and all of that. So it's like, it's like I'm experimenting with. I really want to like see that through before, like, I guess taking that public and like making a post on it and make sure that it's really working. But like just a few days, I've just been like, whoa, okay, this is different. It's super, super interesting.
That's super cool.
So now you have this, you mentioned the skincare business.
Yeah.
When did you start that?
Yeah. So this is super recent, and I'm kind of like I've had a lot of different projects on the go. I really enjoy like business and kind of alternative, I guess, career paths or different ways of doing things. So like ever since I got into like, I guess like keto, even carnivore, like I was like, oh man, like I want to find a way to like I just get obsessed. I'm like, oh, I want to like, turn this into a business or whatever. And so I've had a bunch of things that I've kind of tried out, and like actually way back, like 3 or 4 years, I was going to start this like keto supplement brand, and I wanted to do that. And it kind of just like, as I was getting into carnivore, the supplements I was making, it was like, I wasn't even stuff I wanted to take anymore. So I was like, well, this is kind of stupid. And like, I don't want to sell it to other people. And anyway, so it kind of like just fell apart. But the funny thing is like, when I was like going high fat carnivore, and like at one point I was even doing raw beef, like I was supplementing with raw beef fat, just because fat seemed to really be what made my like brain feel good. And so for a time there, I was like supplementing with raw fat, and then it was like, it's pretty hard to get down. So I was like, I was experimenting with ways to like eat beef tallow basically to make it more like enjoyable. And I was like, I wonder if there's like a market. I was like, there's like, in the carnivore community or something. Anyways, I basically like, I felt like beef fat was like this just undervalued resource kind of thing. And it was neat that from a dietary perspective, like it helped me out. But the point being, I like kind of wanted to do something with beef fat, but I didn't really know what to do. And then that was like a couple of years ago. And then kind of like following the diet thing, which I guess probably happens for a lot of people, and the things in the foods, I just started to do that with like literally one day, I think it was like in the shower and was using like Old Spice body wash. And I was like, what the heck is this?
Right.
And then I'm like, this is like bullshit. And so then I'm like, and it's the same with all the other stuff. I was like the soaps and everything. And I was like, I was like, you can go just buy meat, but I was like, why aren't there brands? And like, there's a few of them for sure. Like, but like, why can't you just buy like the real stuff, like for your hair and for your face and soap and everything? And yeah, there are like, you know, farm shops and lots of small brands now, which is cool. But I was like, okay, this is like, I can do something with beef tallow. I can like make, like I can make, you know, cosmetics from it like that. And that's what they used to do. So it kind of got me excited on like the business side again. And there was like some people I was following online who like were kind of doing similar things. And I was like, yeah, like I could do this for sure. So like, yeah, the goal is to kind of like I guess, kind of popularize like beef tallow is like this healing thing, not just for like eating like with meat, but like for our skin and everything. And it turns out like it's pretty good for that. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. I was like, okay, like let me just like start making some of this stuff and talking about it. And yeah, the plan, like the first product's pretty simple. Kind of got it right here. It's like just so I called it F-bomb. It's kind of like a, you know, little joke there, play on words, but it's just like a moisturizer kind of thing, kind of an anti-aging cream, kind of all purpose, pretty wide application. But yeah, like I want to do like even like pomades and like deodorants and stuff, and just put the cow back into the cosmetics, so to speak.
Is that something that has been done like previously? Like people used to use this and then we moved away from it?
Yeah. So from the research I've done, like tallow used to have like a pretty, like it was much more widely used. So soap for sure. Like it was like, that's what they use for soap. And then like, cause with soap, you use like a fat and then there's like I forget the process, like the chemical reaction with like the lye or whatever. But anyways, so beef tallow was like one of the main things there. But yeah, people use it on their skin like a lot. Like it seems like really like maybe like 50s or 60s even. Like I've seen some old labels and stuff and like there was like tallow and stuff. It was far more common, like kind of just to use. So it seems like, yes. And then like, if you go back even further, it was like, oh yeah, people kind of used it for everything.
That's interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
I was completely unaware of that. So I wasn't sure if like it was a new thing that people were trying out because carnivore is getting so big, but it's cool to hear that it's kind of like an older way of doing things. And I'm assuming the soap industry or the, you know, and the deodorants and all of this stuff that we're so used to checking the labels now. Like when you start to go keto and gluten free and all that stuff, and then I think the last thing people wind up checking out is the home products.
Yeah. And I was late to that party.
The soap, and you're like looking at it and you're like, silicon dioxide, red 4. You're like, what the hell is all this stuff?
Yeah. And the thing that brought it home for me was like, so being really careful about like eating, it's like, hey, that's like easier to like make sense of, I think. Cause you're like, oh, you're eating it. Like, oh, you can be poisoned. If you can eat poison, like that's bad. But then like, I forget where I first heard it, but our skin is our body's biggest organ. And we basically like digest through our skin. Like we kind of eat through our skin, like the same way that our colon and intestines do. Like we absorb stuff through, like that's just another membrane that we absorb stuff through. But like, it's not the same because we're not deriving like all the nutrients through our skin. But like, if you think of the sun and making vitamin D, if you think of all the ways that we absorb, our skin's kind of like this external like digestion path. So like putting stuff onto it, like you'll absorb it and that'll go into your body and do what it does. So when I kind of thought about it that way, I was like, damn, like I'm going to be so careful for like the stuff I'm eating, but then yeah, I won't even check the label of this other stuff and I'll just kind of write that off. So yeah, that was a sort of a secondary breakthrough when I was like, it's way harder to track too. It's like, you don't know how much that stuff's messing you up. Some of it might be a lot, maybe not at all, but yeah, it's definitely big.
Supposedly it's a big deal as far as like I think they call them xenoestrogens, things like that. That may be a cause of declining testosterone in men,
Yep.
or one of probably
Yeah.
12 things that are doing that.
Yeah, no, that's one of them for sure. And like, even like I'm still learning, but like that's the way I want to go with even like my brand. Some of this, you might call it propaganda marketing, but like these big brands don't give a shit about like your testosterone levels or like your health or your serotonin. So I'm kind of pitching it as like, listen, big scent or big cosmetic, they don't have your best interests in mind. They just have the bottom line. So, this is stuff that like can, not even like like on the one hand, it won't harm you, but on the other hand, it can, help promote, testosterone, serotonin, and all these good things. Like tallow has like a very similar pH level to like our own skin. And I forget the actual name of the like, whatever the, not chemical, but anyways, so it can actually like, it really has like an active ingredient that can help like heal and like restore human skin. Like it's a very close, it's something to do with the pigment almost, or I forget the name of it, but it's pretty neat. Like it's like, not only is it like not bad for you, like it actually can like revitalize. So like, that's pretty cool.
That's really cool. Yeah. Wow. I didn't know any of that stuff. I know like recently, probably in the last couple of years, I just cut it out with the shampoo.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
Nice, man.
I noticed. I mean, it's not like I noticed like a great benefit or there was a great detriment to using those products, but like just putting water in my hair has been fine.
Yeah,
And
totally, man.
if you create a hair product, that would be awesome, because
Yeah.
almost all of them, like a beard product or a hair product, like almost all of them have so much crap in it, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's neat because like I stopped using it too, and like I just use like I had some tallow soap that a friend made, and then like some like smaller soap businesses, but like I find not so much like, oh, I notice a big difference not using it, but if I go somewhere and I use it, I feel like I can like just smell the chemicals. Like I feel like it's more that it's like when it comes back, I'm like, holy crap, this is just like so intense.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed more, bringing it back than like not using it.
And it must be, I guess, so we were using these products for a long time, and then I'm guessing big scent, as you called it. I like that. It must be just so much cheaper to produce the chemical stuff. There's probably a better markup on it.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like, and maybe it's not even like that, like nefarious or whatever. Like there's different levels to how we can look at it, but like it does seem like anytime you try to scale something up, like if there's a way to stabilize a product or make it cheaper, like that's just the textbook play. So yeah, whether it's like actively trying to not have animal things, whether it's the animal cruelty thing and not having that like, on the label, I don't know, but it's funny, dude. There's this like thing on Twitter like now, where I just came across it, like people are just using raw eggs, like they're not using shampoo, but then every once in a while, like just you rub a raw egg in it. I'm like, right on.
I've tried that.
Sounds good. I haven't actually done it yet.
Yeah, I've done that a couple times. I don't know, anything that's like weird or outside the box, I'm like, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
What's the worst that's gonna happen? It's just an egg.
Exactly.
That's cool, man. So what's the brand called?
Yeah, so it's called the Tallowed Truth. So like tallow, and then the Tallowed Truth, and so it's going to be the products, but then I also put this kind of like politically incorrect spin on it that's like hopefully like giving you the truth about things as well. So just with like the marketing and like the emails and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool. That angle makes a lot of sense to me. And this is something we can talk about too, because the other carnivore people that I've had on the podcast, I've had like functional medicine doctors, all these people have one personality trait in common. And it's like a healthy distrust
Mm.
for authority, and they have a little bit of just kind of like fuck you
Yeah.
in them. And I believe that's what it takes to even try a diet, because it's so outside the box. It's like the kind of people that like maybe they listened to their teachers in high school, but they were kind of like, I don't know about that, you know?
Yeah, dude.
Do you find yourself, is that the way you think?
Yeah, man, like totally. And I think that's one reason why even like, I don't know if it's eating the meat or whatever, but like it seems to kind of go along with the community. So I resonated with that because I was like that already. And then I was like, yeah, this like kind of makes sense. And it was just that like, I guess like, yeah, that rebellion or that skepticism in me. But like that's exactly what I want this brand to be, man. Like that, like the name, like F-bomb for the first product. I was like, I want this to be like, yeah, like a fuck you to the big, to the, yeah, big skin, big farmer, whatever you want to call it. And because it's weird how far we've drifted. Like it's weird that even carnivore is extreme, man. Like it's all very weird. Like because it just starts to make sense. You're like, oh, you can get like what you need from your food, and like, oh, like this is how we evolved, and all these things. And you're like, this is just kind of normal. It's like so bizarre. That you got these, even some doctors still just freaking out over this, or nutritionists. It's like, yeah, the poor nutritionists, man, don't stand a chance these days. Like they like, you got to do your own research. And I mean, we could talk about like how so many of the universities or the programs, like they're just, they're totally bought out or whatever. But I guess that answers your question. Yeah, I think that is like a common thread, because there's also a certain, like, you can get a bit angry, like if you've been like led astray, or like if, some people have wasted a lot of years of their life trying to do the quotes healthy thing, and, have suffered a lot. So I think it's, very fitting.
Yeah, I think so too. And to me, it seems like it's almost like an act of rebellion to be fit and healthy these days, because so many people, I'm sure Canada probably, I would guess, has the same or similar obesity and overweight problem as America.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just insane. Like the average person, like like you must feel pretty good. Like I know I feel pretty good at 33, like walking into a grocery store and just being like, and you just look at the average person and you're like,
dude,
man, I'm doing so much better than the average 33-year-old person.
It's tough, man. It's like, I totally agree. And I go back and forth between like that, and then like sometimes I'll just get sad. Like,
yeah.
And I'm serious. Like everyone likes to feel good about themselves, whatever. And I'm grateful that I guess like had the opportunity to learn, and to maybe not have the worst genes, or like whatever. Like I've got my own issues, but yeah, sometimes you see someone loading up their cart and like they don't have a clue, and it's like, it's just sad, man. It's like, those are the people, and that's what makes me the most mad. Those are the people that not follow the rules, but like they never question. It's like, oh, like my doctor, of course, or whatever, like, or they said I should take this medication, or like, they're the people who really get fucked over. So that makes me angry too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like, you need the ability to think for yourself. And there's a lot of it's hard because there's so much conflicting information online. This is something I talk to people all the time about. Like, if you're vegan, like you can find studies and you can find hundreds of doctors that are all on your side, right? And it's like the same with the carnivore. You can start to live in a bit of an echo chamber. But it's like, you really have to look at you have to experiment and then look at your own results. Like, are you getting results? Because like people will like flame me on Instagram, and I'm like, but they're overweight, right? And I'm thinking, okay, so like you're either following your own advice, or you're following your doctor's advice and it's not working, or you're just not following the advice that your doctor is giving you, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like being curious and being open-minded is more and more important as as like these companies, like these huge companies that don't have your interest, and they can pay for certain studies to be done, and it can get really, really confusing. So I think it's so important that people like you are getting your message out, and people can see that there's an alternative route to take towards health.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And like, this sounds kind of weird, and like, I'm not like the science carnivore guy. Like, I'm not like, there's a lot of great spokespeople out there who have the, whether it is studies or the biology, and they break that down. But like, yeah, I'm all for experimentation and going off how you feel. I never want to wait 17 years or whatever it is till stuff gets, trickles down into what we're supposed to do, so to speak. And like, it's funny you mentioned, like, I agree, man. Like, there are echo chambers for sure. And I was probably like a bit of a zealot, like when I started this, like a bit maybe like not open-minded, even when I was like, oh, it's like carnivore or nothing. Like, that's the only way. And now I'm like, just a little more open-minded, it's a little more nuanced. Like, it's different for different people for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of like don't even think studies are helpful anymore. Like, just personally, like I don't give a shit. Like you said, there's always the other one, or like, I'm not saying like the scientific method is really valuable for sure. So I'm pro science, like I'm pro data, but like, especially after these last 2 years, man, the science is like a friggin' cliche. So I'm like, don't go looking for a study to like live your life. Like right. I love, what really kind of saved me, I guess, in a sense, was people like you, people who shared their N of ones, because I could relate to that, and I could say I can try that. And that was so much more approachable, encouraging, and realistic than, my doctor telling me that, like, whatever, the studies on antidepressants are that they help you this much. And like, you're like, it's so much more human to hear someone say, I tried this and it worked. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, I can just start. Like, I remember being so excited about the potential that, the diet could help my mood. That was, and maybe for the listeners, like, that's one thing I just want to stress, like, especially if anyone's like struggling, is like, if you feel like crap all the time, and anyone who has like anxiety or depression, they know what that is. Like, it's like so exciting if you discover a possibility that maybe like, like, this isn't your fault, or like, you don't have to feel like this all the time, or like, you can actually like feel happy. Like, that's so exciting. And for me, it was really stories that helped me.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like anecdotes are just the most, I mean, that's, I guess, where the science begins, right?
Mm-hmm.
People start experimenting with stuff, and then, research winds up being done on that particular subject. But yeah, I'm very skeptical of science. I trust the science, all that,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of nonsense, especially over the last couple of years. I think it's been a big red pill for a lot of people to swallow. And like, I think it was Jordan Peterson, he was talking about the diet on Rogan's podcast. That was like maybe one of my first experiences with this about 4 years ago. And he was saying, like, there's now that they have like thousands and thousands of anecdotes, it's like, it's not just an anecdote anymore. I think he says now it's like a hypothesis, right? It's like, do you know who Wim Hof is?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that guy is like one of my favorite people of all time. And all that, his crazy story just started with him experimenting, doing all this stuff. And then the science had to catch up to what he found out. So I believe that, the ketogenic diet, or the even carnivore, like, in a few years from now, maybe 10, 20 years from now, people are going to be like, it'll be way more mainstream.
Yeah.
And when the science catches up and people's doctors actually start talking to them about it, I just feel like it's just going to take a while. There's a lot of red tape, and
there is. Yeah. And it's like, that stuff changes slowly. There's a really exciting thing happening with a guy, maybe you've heard him, Dr. Chris Palmer. He's like actually a Harvard psychiatrist, researcher, and he just published a book. I think it's a bestseller now, called Brain Energy. And he's basically put forward that there's a theory, he's calling it the metabolic theory for mental disorders, which is like, it's not like he's consolidated a lot of research, but like, dude, like it is coming. Like it'll take a while, but like it's neat that like, I guess like after ripping on the scientific side of things, like it's cool to see that it's actually coming together over there as well.
Chris Palmer is awesome. I saw him on, I think, Ken Berry's podcast.
Nice, yeah.
And it blew my mind. Like, he has basically been working with people with like schizophrenia,
yeah,
bipolar, and it's interesting because he came across this on just like happenstance. I think one of his patients had schizoaffective disorder for years and years and years, lived with his father, couldn't have a job, was hearing voices or believing that there was like radio transmission that was like getting into his brain. And he put him on the ketogenic diet just to lose weight.
Yep.
And then just a few weeks in, he started making more eye contact, started thinking, well, maybe these voices aren't real.
Yeah.
And then he just went down this rabbit hole to find stuff.
Yeah, it just gives you shivers hearing some of the stories. Like, but yeah, super cool. I think his interview with Andrew Huberman now has like almost like 4 million views. So it's definitely getting out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's so important. I saw something on your Instagram I wanted to ask you about. I saw you were like in a room or maybe behind a camera.
Oh yeah.
Jordan Peterson was there.
Yeah, dude. So this was in January, and from the social media I was following, they're launching this thing called Peterson Academy, which is going to be a lot of lectures basically in the format of a, I think, university degree is what they're hoping for. Anyways, they put down that they wanted people in the audience. So I just like responded, and it was like a form to fill out. And yeah, it turns out that I got a spot. So it was pretty neat. It was only about 30 of us, but it was Dr. Peterson lecturing. So it was 4 days, man, of like philosophy in person. And yeah, it was unbelievable. Like I'd followed him for like 5 years now. And yeah, it was something else. Like I've probably listened to days of his content, but in person it hit differently. Unfortunately, like it was pretty like structured. Like we didn't get to meet him. Like it was very like,
okay,
sit down, comes in, and does his thing. There was an opportunity to ask some questions, but absolutely phenomenal experience. It's funny actually. It was so cool. It was philosophy, but then he just put his own kind of spin on it and everything. And anyways, I wrote it all up. Like I wrote this cool thread on it and stuff. And then like I realized after they had this what do you call it? Like they didn't want people to be sharing what was in the lectures because it was for the class. So I had to take it down. But no, yeah, it was super cool.
That's neat. I wanted to ask you, man, because I run into this a lot. Just like with friends or family members that are struggling with anything, autoimmune, mental health, etc. And they've tried 100 things, right? Except for a ketogenic or carnivore diet. And they'll always, some are more open to it, but a common response is like, well, I want to try, maybe if I heard something about magnesium, so I'm going to start taking this supplement first. And there seems to be like they're dragging their feet on the way to what I believe could be the answer for them.
Yeah.
Like, I guess, like, why do you think that is? And like, what do you tell people when they're like, oh, I have this autoimmune thing, or I have this mental health thing, and I'm trying to fix it, and you're like, oh, this diet is here,
Yeah, man. No, I can relate to that for sure. And I think it goes back to like something I mentioned earlier, which was like, I got really excited about this, and I was also like feeling really shitty. And so like what I remember, and it still motivates me, and we can get that into a little bit because like I actually haven't been perfect, and I've veered off, and then I'm like, holy shit, like I need to get back. But so I guess I can relate to people, but yeah, I'd say for like 3 years, I was just the preacher. Like I was, trying not to be obnoxious, but I was like, you got to try this. And I did have even family who'd try it for a little bit. It's weird. Like you can't just like, maybe some people can, I don't think you can just try it. Like, I think you've got to get interested. I think like you've got to be interested and curious. Otherwise it's just going to be someone telling you to do something and you won't have the why behind it. Like that's really what it is, because like I've heard so many people say it, like they dabbled, but it was like, it wasn't until they kind of got interested in it that, like, going back to the stories and even the social media and the podcasts, like I was devouring everything I could get my hands on. And I don't know, man, it is tough. Like I guess I try to share similar stories that I come across if they're like a success or a healing story. But yeah, there's an inertia to lifestyle that's obviously hard to switch up. But no, I have people in my life that I wish I could just give them the excitement or the belief, because I'm with you. And even, dude, even like, yeah, like you like the magnesium, or like I heard someone say something like recently, like they called it majoring the minors. And I think it's a great like phrase. Because it is overwhelming, and like you can go to the doc. It's like, it's a, yeah, get a blood panel and all the tests and figure out what is wrong with you. And like, I remember like I had this kind of moment of like that's all kind of BS. Like you need to get healthy. Like that's like literally the 80-20 of this. Like, like you like cut out these things. Like you gotta, and then like, sure, if there's some nagging issue, or like you can do the blood panel or the test, but like to think about that as like the front loaded, like, I don't know, like it's too complicated. And so I think making it simpler, but that's a mindset shift. So yeah, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Actually perfect, man. Being interested in it, because I think a lot of people are used to, and I know a lot of people personally who their weight just does this like all year round, right? They'll be like in perfect shape and then they'll blow up, and they'll be in perfect shape and then they'll blow up. And because maybe it's framed for a lot of people in their own head that, oh, this is just like a diet that I'm on, right? Like I'm counting my calories, like all the other diets that people are used to. But it's so much more. Like once you dig in and you get interested and you get curious, it's so much more. I mean, it's really like a lifestyle more than a diet. So I think making someone or trying to get someone to be interested, I think that's a great point.
Yeah. And that comes with like, yeah, connecting with people and like being able to enjoy it in certain ways. Like I've waffled for sure, because like lifestyle and enjoying life is like really important to me. And so there were times like when I did the lion diet, like strict for like 4 months, like I did not like deviate.
Nice.
And it was actually like, I felt really good for the most part. Like, no, I felt really good, period. Like I was like, that was when I was like, oh my gosh, like I think everything was like depression, anxiety, it was all gone. Like I just was good. But it did isolate me a little bit on the social front. Like just little things like nagged at me a little bit. And that was a bit of a challenge. Like at the time I was like just happy to be feeling good. So that was fine. But yeah, since then I would say I've been on this like, you know, experiment of trying to find the best way to make it sustainable for me, trying to find the 80-20 of the diet for me, and trying to find ways to, yeah, make it a lifestyle, but also, you know, still have a community and that kind of thing, and enjoy it. So I think that's what anyone has to do is to, yeah. I mean, sometimes I think you got to think of it as like carnivore rehab. Like I think a lot of people just need that. It's like, listen, you got to put your life on pause and you just got to go eat steak for like 30 days. Cause like, that's, if you do, like, you're not going to be able to ease your way. Like, so, but then long term. Yeah.
Right. It's, and for a lot of people, it can be very difficult because it's such a change, especially coming from like a standard American diet, which, I mean, I grew up in New Jersey and there was a ton of bagels and pizza and all. I mean, I had a crap diet. Like it's insane to me looking
Yeah.
back to eat 2 bagels a day and then like pizza for dinner.
Yeah.
And that's just like it was like completely normal based
So
on where I'm at now. Is just like I'm sure the average person is probably looking at me like, dude, this is crazy. But I have seen my family has come around to it. Not that any of them are really doing it. But because I've been doing it for so long, I've been so persistent with it and have seen results. I'm just the meat guy. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, so you go over to the family event or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, Justin, like we're doing burgers." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Great." And they know that like I'm not going to eat any of the tomatoes, the onions, the bread, any of that crap. Have you noticed like a big like what does your family and friends think about, like um how do you go through social situations eating like this?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess like first for transparency. So I tried to like, I thought I was like healed and I could like go back. Like, so
Yeah.
I have been on like, especially this past year, like I tried to really see if I could ease stuff in. And then on certain occasions, I was like, eating stuff that I just knew I shouldn't have been eating. And I kind of paid the price. So I guess like, I haven't been like 100% strict, but like for all the times that I have done that, I mean, now it's just like, kind of like you said, like no one's surprised at what I do. They're like, "Oh, you doing like carnivore right now?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, like I'm doing that, but like I'm not as strict. So, like I'll have like the pickles and the cheese, like I'll have some cheese and pickles, and then other times it's like, oh, like no, I was like I'm back on, and they're like, okay, yep. So like there's plain burgers over there if you want them, or that kind of thing. So I guess like I'm not as fresh to the social change. So I'm trying like, yeah, it was tricky. It was tricky for a while. Like I think I'd bring stuff sometimes, or like I'd just be like, not eating. Like one time I even it was like this event. I just didn't want to like get into it. So I just like served myself a plate of food and just didn't eat it. I just kind of sat there. Like nobody said anything. So there's like little like tricks or whatever you can do. But yeah, I guess I'm pretty used to it now. I love like doing things though, like that you can enjoy. Like if maybe you go to like a Brazilian steakhouse or you do something where it's like you can do carnivore. I think that's fun to be able to still have like those fun things. But yeah.
Most people don't realize that. I mean, most places have steak.
Yeah.
Like if you're out on the go, like I'll even go to Wendy's.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
Get like a triple baconator cheeseburger or whatever. And I know the cheese is probably crap, but
no, I'm with you, man.
Whatever, right? I'm like sticking on my diet and it's like $8-9 and it's freaking delicious.
Yeah.
Where people think that like, oh, I can only do this at home. Another hack I found is just making beef jerky at home.
Nice. Yeah.
Dehydrator. And it's like, if I'm going to be gone for like, say 12 hours, I don't know, maybe I'm going to work or I don't know, whatever I'm doing that day. And it's like just having the food on the ready has been a huge hack for me, because I've noticed like once your hunger reaches a certain point, you're like, you just make the worst decisions.
Yeah. No, totally, man. Yeah. And just quickly, I'm curious. I've seen some of your content in your shorts. Like you got into it a while ago. And have you maintained a pretty strict like carnivore diet, or how do you see it now, or how has your journey been?
Yeah. So it's funny. I probably have a very similar experience to you, is that like when I first got into it, I was like, I'm doing this, I'm going hardcore. And I did steak, eggs, and bacon for 100 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it, and I had to reframe this way of thinking. I looked at it as like a reset.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I'll do this for 100 days, and then I'll just kind of go back to eating like normal people.
Yeah.
Right. And after I stopped the 100 days, I still ate about 80% like beef. So I would say it was like animal protein based diet.
Yeah.
But I would eat pizza, like gluten-free pizza.
Yeah.
Or I would eat like, these like perfect peanut butter bars from
Yeah.
things like that. But it was mostly meat based, and I was doing quite well on it for a while. Then I got really into weightlifting, and I was trying to put on a bunch of pounds, so I was eating like a lot of crap.
Yeah.
But it was still mostly meat, but that 20% was like pretty jacked up.
Yep.
And then mental health issues just started like roaring back. Like,
Wow.
it was like,
dude, we have a very similar story.
And I was like, maybe this isn't a reset. Maybe this is just a way to eat.
Yeah.
And that was probably, I don't know, I guess in December of last year. I was just like, all right, cut the shit. Like, we're going carnivore, no cheating. I think one day since then, I ate like a bunch of honey because I was kind of like doing the Saladino thing.
Dude, same. I'm like, yes, such a similar timeline, man.
But the Saladino thing for me personally, like, I couldn't stick to just fruit and honey. Like, I would eat globs of honey or like maple syrup or something, and then it would trigger me to go out and eat more crap. I couldn't just stick to, and I guess maybe that's just like a food addiction or something, but I couldn't just stick to the fruit, honey, and meat. It was a nice way of eating. I mean, believe me, I love cantaloupe and watermelon, and having that shit in the fridge is just awesome. But then it just triggered all those other, negative responses. And then I was like, all right, I'm just going strict. And then I think the one day that I ate like a bunch of honey at night because I got too hungry and I made a mistake, I felt like crap the next day.
Yeah.
Felt like absolute crap.
Yeah, super interesting, man. Because like, this is funny even at this like interview, like at this point in time, because like I was so into this, like, and like on my YouTube, like talk about it and stuff, and like all the podcasts, and then I kind of wanted it to be like, oh yeah, I healed myself, and I'm like, I don't need to do, like, I was like kind of ready to move on.
Yeah.
And then like I just got slapped, like literally, like, it's so weird, dude, how it affects you. I mean, there's some drinking mixed in too, which definitely doesn't help, but like the brain fog, the depression, like the feeling of like doom, like I had like panic attacks like coming back. I was like, holy shit. Like I was like, I'm getting like beaten back into like the carnivore diet. Like it's like whether I like it or not. So very, very similar experience. And yeah, like last summer, and then even like, and more recently, I was like, oh, like, yeah, can I do like the honey and the fruit and all this stuff? And
okay. Sorry about that interruption.
No, not at all, man. Not at all. I know we're going on just over an hour here, but yeah, no, I was just just agreeing with you. And it was like, yeah, I gotta lock it down. And then even actually it was some of Chris Palmer's stuff, just listening to him talking about how like the power of ketosis. And I was like, yeah, I know all this stuff already, and I know it makes me feel better, but yeah, I'm right with you there.
Are you in any like community groups for this? Like, are you in any like Facebook groups or anything like that?
Yeah, like I was a little more active before, I guess, like more recently, not as much. Like following some people on Instagram and DMing them, and like I was in one like kind of coaching thing for a little bit. And yeah, I guess like that's one thing I just like, no, I haven't done as much of this. Like I love this stuff. Like even these, I've only done a few of these, but like this is what I love. And I'm like, whenever I do it, I'm like, I gotta do more of this. But like, yeah, I used to be super active in like Facebook groups and just reading and commenting and stuff, but I don't know, not as much.
Yeah, I understand that. I feel like something that's like missing, I feel like is like, at least in my life and a lot of people that I talk to like that are around our age, is like having a community. Like whether that be around diet or fitness or anything else. So I think I have one buddy that I'm working with, and he's on a carnivore diet, and I've got a lot of other friends to eat like a lot of more meat.
Yeah. No, that's the one cool thing. Everyone's like, no one feels bad about it anymore. They're like, well, at least I'm sort of doing the carnivore thing, right? You're like, all right, sure.
Right. It's funny now. I get like unsolicited like meat pics, So like people will just like on Instagram, they'll just like I will get like a DM, it'll just be a photo. I click on it, it's a steak. And I'm just like, it's hilarious to me. I'm like, I guess I'm being, becoming synonymous with meat, which is fine.
That's great.
And I wanted to ask you, like, so outside of the diet, because like the diet is, in my opinion, in my experience, and seems like in your experience, it's just amazing for mental health. Are you doing things outside of it as well? Like anything, exercise, cold therapy, anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always messing around with stuff. I'd say the diet's like the big staple. I've also noticed like pretty obvious, like sleep's got to be pretty good. Like late nights and stuff kind of throw me off a bit. So closer I get to a sleep schedule, kind of the better. And then, yeah, I mess around with some cold plunges. Like I don't have like a legit one or anything, but like I like that just for like a boost, kind of like it makes me feel good. I haven't got, like I've tried a bit of the Wim Hof stuff. I guess like, yeah, most of the other things are kind of just, it's like I mess around because they give me a little something or I enjoy it. Sauna, like I'd like to get a sauna actually. I feel like that always made me feel good when I had the chance to do that. But overall, like, I mean, you mentioned community, and then another thing that like I've realized kind of over the last year is it's cliche, but like your purpose and like what you do, like that is the other piece of it. Cause like for a long time, I was just trying to like, I was like, okay, if I just like carnivore hard enough, like all my problems are going to go away. That was like my philosophy. I was like so bought in. And then just realizing like, no, like you got to have a purpose. You got to be working on stuff. You got to be connecting with like-minded people. You got to be doing something that excites you. That has been the other piece for me that like has really overarchingly on the macro, like changed my kind of mental health for the better, because I really struggled like career wise and stuff. Like I was always not sure what I was going to do. And just really discouraged, didn't have too much direction. And, that's different than, eating stuff that inflames your brain that literally makes you feel bad. But like on the whole, that has been starting to have projects that I'm excited about, and connecting with more people who are doing similar things has just given me a sort of overall excitement that, combined with, a good lifestyle, is, I think that's kind of the full thing.
I'm so glad you said that, man. I was thinking like, as far as like pillars of like getting your health back, like diet, like absolutely number one, sleep, exercise, stress management, and then I guess the last one would be like community or purpose, right?
Yeah.
Or both of those.
Yeah, they kind of go together.
Yeah, because like it can be, I don't know, in today's society, like we're so connected but so disconnected at the same time. Like, yeah, I can text everybody and Instagram everybody and Facebook everybody, but there's something about like working with other people or doing something creative with other people. For me, it's always been like music, man. Like,
yeah,
I can be in the studio doing something like that is like my, like the highest high is like working with other people on a cool project. Or it could be business, like working with people on a business. That's like, it just gets me so excited, versus like being alone can be like, if you're just alone all the time, I feel like that depression signal that pops up is not a sign to go back in. It's like, we need to come out and do something, connect with people in real life.
Yeah, totally, man. And it's weird because it's like that double-edged sword of connecting, via, text and Twitter or whatever it is. It's not ideal, but like on the other side, it's really neat because now you can like kind of connect with people you can find some of those communities or people, or like I got to go to this conference this a month ago now, I guess. And it was kind of an entrepreneur brand building thing. And like, it felt like, I was like, holy crap, like everyone there was just like my people. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, it was just so neat. And I think you kind of have to like, you have to have the experience. Then you're like, oh, I need more of that kind of in my life. But yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, man. So you mentioned Twitter. Is that where you're most active, or you on? I know you're on Instagram. I think that's how we connected on Instagram.
Yeah. So my personal Instagram, not too much going on there. I guess like it's funny because like that's where I followed all these original like carnivore people, but I don't post a lot there. So kind of the Twitter's probably the place like day to day, the most active. And it's, I guess, like more business stuff. There's a bit of like health stuff mixed in there, but I've been for a while. I guess YouTube would maybe be like, even though I don't post that much, like I've tried to sort of document this thing in terms of just like what's kind of been helpful for me. But I guess like probably Twitter, and then so my new business Instagram for the Tallow Truth is like another place where I'm just trying to be more active.
And is it at Tallow Truth on Twitter?
Yeah, the Tallow Truth. Yep.
The Tallow Truth. And then is that on Instagram too?
Yep. Sorry, yeah, what's the Twitter one? I think. Oh yeah, I think it's at Tallow Truth on Twitter because it has to be short enough.
Yeah.
And then Instagram is the Tallow Truth. But yeah, man.
And can people order that stuff anywhere?
Yeah. So it's like thetallowtruth.com. I'm still getting like, I think right now, like I can do like free shipping to the States over like a certain amount, but like the shipping sucks from Canada. So that's something I'm getting sorted out. But yeah, man, it's website's live, and just working on now just different, marketing and content and stuff. So it's exciting.
That's great, man. That's awesome. I was excited to see that when you sent me the website. The website is actually really cool.
Thanks.
I like the messaging on there too, because I think you're like a copyright guy, aren't you?
Yeah, so that's kind of my full-time thing is like writing for other brands. So it's great skill, but yeah, it's a lot more fun like for your own stuff. So
how is I guess like one more quick question.
Yeah, man. No, I'm in no hurry. So
okay. On the as far as creatively, because like you have a creative job, right? How has the diet affected that as far as focus and creativity and being able to churn out work?
Dude, yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because this is neat. A lot is the first, like it helps like a lot is the short answer. But like, dude, the first brand I wanted to start, it was called Creative Keto. Like it was like with a K on creative, because at the time I was like really passionate about, I was like how much like a ketogenic diet could like help with creativity. And so, yeah, 100%, man. Like, I think it's a huge like lever to kind of pull. I mean, just to get the clarity in the first place, but then like to just have the space for like ideas in your head, basically. I think it's such a huge lever. And then the space, and then like the energy to execute on something. I mean, I think a lot of us have ideas, but like you're just kind of like, oh, I don't know if I could kind of do that. But like, yeah, if you have a bit of, get up and go, or like, that's huge. You'll get something started, and then, who knows what can happen next. So 100%, man.
And do you try to do that hard work? I'm interested in this as a person that writes music.
Yeah.
And, do you try to do this like right when you wake up? Like
so
the hardest thing done first?
I try and often do not succeed, but that's definitely a pattern I've noticed. Like, doesn't necessarily have to be right when I wake up, but like the later into the day, like the harder kind of it's going to be. So yeah, if I can stick to kind of a front weighted approach, then it's just easier to be focused for me, for sure. And like, and to kind of get into it. Because like, I think we only have so much like bandwidth. And then like, I think as the day goes on, like it kind of, I don't know, it's easier to be just all over the place. So I'm still trying to figure that out for myself too. And like, it's funny, like even like the way you structure your day, like I think I saw you're drinking a coffee there. I like love caffeine. I actually cut it out cold turkey like 3 weeks ago, just because I was like,
let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was doing too like I'm a junkie. That's the problem. Is like I'm a bit of like a junkie, and so even with diet, like I'm kind of like, how can I like hack this or like what?
Yeah.
So I'm always like looking to spice things up somehow, and I was leaning on caffeine quite a bit there, and that was, I think it was just messing with my sleep. It was getting pushed later into the day too. Anyway, so it's been actually really cool. I feel very like great now. And then I think I'm gonna, after a month, I'm gonna like just test it out like slowly. Or I heard this guy talking about like every other day. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but actually I love caffeine for creative stuff too. The right amount and the right timing, I find just like it's amazing. So yeah.
So you cut that out cold turkey? Like, what was it? Did you like not? Do you have like withdrawals from that?
I guess like, yeah, like I didn't have that. Well, I did actually a bit of a headache for 2 days, and then like I'd say it was like 5 days. I just felt like it just felt like my dopamine was gone. Kind of like I just felt like this is just kind of hard to like put one foot in front of the other, not in like a clinical sense, but just kind of like, oh, just feel kind of like meh. And then yeah, and then it kind of got better. Like after that,
was it worth it at 3 weeks in?
Yeah, so I think it was just because like it had to happen. Like I wasn't gonna be cutting back. Like I wasn't gonna be just cutting it back. I was like, I think I need to do this. And then more recently, I've been like, yeah, this is kind of cool. Like I'm not thinking about it as much, which like because it's super associated with work for me. I'll be like, okay, sit down, do a project, get a coffee, or get like something, and it's very like. And that'd be like 3 or 4 times during the day. So now it's good. And now I'm like, okay, what's the play here?
Did you replace it with another routine? Because to me, it's like it's like almost like a tradition.
Yeah.
I did a little bit, like an hour or so, hour and a half after I get up, I'll have a cup of coffee. And I don't drink that much of it. And I always stop by about noon.
Nice.
But to me, I'm always like, well, what do I do? I'm like, I have to like, maybe I'll buy like mineral water or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Replace it with. That's also kind of like a fun thing.
Yeah, man, 100%. Like for a little bit, I was trying like this lion's mane alternative thing, which more just for like a hot drink. It was like cocoa and like lion's mane or something, and it was like
Four Sigmatic.
It wasn't specifically that.
Okay.
But it was something like that, except I think Four Sigmatic still has a lot, or I don't know. I think they have caffeine. I was trying to go like no caffeine, or I guess cocoa, but anyways, yeah, something like just for the ritual of it, because I'm totally on the same page, man. Like some days, like a decaf, like cappuccino, just to go, like just to have the cup, basically.
Yeah.
And then like I was doing the sugar-free energy drinks before too, so like I was not like. So like I do some of these Evias or like the bubblies, like, yeah, for me, a lot of it is literally just having like a can of something or like a cup. And then something I've been playing around with that like slightly different topic, but kind of the same. Like, have you ever heard of Kratom?
Yeah.
Yeah. People, it's weird. It's like super controversial. And then some people say it's like terrible for you or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't make that much of a difference either way for me, but it gives me a little bit of like a focus thing, I feel like. So I've been experimenting with that too.
Interesting. Yeah, because I've heard like way varying.
Yeah. I don't really get, to be honest, like people talk about it like it's like this drug, and it's like I was like scared to even try it. And then now it's like, I don't know. It's like I look at it the same as I look at caffeine, or maybe even like less like of a big deal. So
I usually see those at like GNC type places. Do people use that to work out?
Some people use it as a pre-workout. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't really get that kind of energy. I do find it helps me just with a focus though. Like I almost won't even notice I feel anything different. And then I'll just be like working on something, and I'll be like, oh yeah, like I'm like kind of locked in. And I'm like, it does seem to help with that. So
oh, that's cool. And no like crash effect or anything.
No.
That's sweet. Yeah, because I know a lot of those. Usually when you take something, it has an effect, it's like the the downside of it, like even with caffeine, I mean, the chances that you're going to be anxious just probably increased like 10 to 10-fold if you're
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
drinking caffeine.
I was doing like my afternoon one. So like at noon or 1 was like the nitro cold brew, which I love.
Snap.
From with a bit of heavy, a bit of heavy cream in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, but holy crap, it would get me, my heart would be just racing.
Yeah. That's a good coffee, but it's, I mean, I don't know how much caffeine's in there. There's a ton though.
Yeah. You just do black?
Yeah, I just do, but I like just getting like cold brew
Nice.
coffee. Even though we were in Puerto Rico like 2 weeks ago, and the coffee down there was just insane. They do like, I mean, everything is basically like espresso.
Yeah.
And it was so much better than the coffee we get up here. But I don't know.
Are you still in Jersey?
Oh, no, I live in North Carolina now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, I'm slowly making my way down south. I like the weather down here, man. We get more sun. I mean, Florida would be really cool, but sunshine to me is just like so important to be in the sun, getting enough sun. I feel so much better when I'm in the sun, and I just feel like, without doing any research on it, I'm just like, this feels great.
Love it. Yeah, I agree with that, man. And that's something I prioritize more, like just walking like no shirt on or whatever. Like I 100% agree. It's huge.
You guys get enough sun up there?
Like just now we do, not in the winter. Like
Yeah.
I got to go. Yeah, I did 1 week in Florida and I was like, I don't think I can ever do like a full winter up here again. Like we don't get enough, man. It's like everyone has seasonal depression up here.
Yeah, no kidding. My wife and I are always talking about like, this is our last winter. Like we'll have to get some sort of Airbnb property or something down in Florida where we could rent it out the whole year and then just spend our winters in a warm place, just for your mood, honestly.
Yeah, man. No, it's real.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Well, dude, this has been a ton of fun. I'm so glad we connected.
Yeah, man.
And I didn't realize, I guess we were connected for longer than I thought. But I think maybe you just maybe you just commented on something. And then
you started doing actually I kind of want to ask you about that. Like you started doing obviously like the health like content, like the carnivore stuff. And then I think I commented on one and they kind of just kept popping up again. But yeah, because like even since the first time I followed you, like it kind of fell off the radar or whatever. And then it was more, it popped up again. I was like, oh, I think I remember this dude from like it's something he posted like a while ago. So
the algorithm knew that you were, that I was doing meat stuff and you were a meat guy.
Yeah. If you don't mind, just like quickly, like, so you started the podcast, obviously the content. Are you doing some coaching or like, how are you approaching all this?
Oh yeah. So I just started doing coaching maybe like 6 weeks ago. So I have a few clients that I work with now, and it's like gut issues, people that are trying to lose weight, food addiction, all that stuff that carnivore can help. And basically, different personality types, everyone's a little bit different when they try to get on this, but it's more like working with that personality type in a way that they can follow the diet or transition to the diet. So some people are like you, or just like cold turkey, dude, like right away. And then like other people are like, it's harder to give up certain things. So you kind of have to like transition them to it. But we're obviously seeing really great results, because like I know this stuff works and I've been through the ringer with it.
Yeah.
The trials and tribulations of like doing it and then kind of doing it and then jumping back off. And I'm like, I know what to look for. And I feel like a lot of people just need someone to help them stay accountable. They were really used to letting ourselves down, but it's harder to let somebody else down, when they're involved with it with you. It's like when you work out with a buddy, it's like you always work out harder.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what's kind of going on. So, and I'm also, it's like, it's been so powerful for me that I'm like, I have to share this, dude. Like people need to know. And I feel like I'm part of some kind of rebellion, you know, towards helping people get healthy. And you're kind of like raging against the machine a little bit because like really the cards are stacked against all of us as far as getting healthy.
Yeah, man. 100%. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, man. So then one more time, where can people find the tallow?
Yeah, sweet, man. Yeah, it's thetallowedtruth.com is the website. Same thing as the Instagram. And then my YouTube, where I talk about some of the stuff, is just my name, Ben Corkery. But yeah, check it out. And it's going to be big. So come along for the ride.
Sweet. I love it, man. Well, thank you, dude. This was great talking to you.
Sweet, man. Thanks so much for having me.